And let's get camera settings open. But I hope everybody's been having a good day. I know I have had a great, fantastic, blessed day. Let's wide screen. There we go. There we go. Double. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about discipline, the importance of discipline, and why you need to stay disciplined. Now, as you know, as a trader and investor, discipline is an interesting one. It comes and goes, and it's very hard to maintain at times because of what discipline is. Now, as hard as it is to admit, it's very hard to stay disciplined. For the simple fact that staying disciplined is essentially refraining from doing something you want to do. And having applied discipline is something I'm going to be talking about today. Because somebody can be disciplined in a certain area, but another person is disciplined in a different area, but has no discipline in the same area as the other person. So for example, let's say, I don't know, I'm really good at, not dieting or something, or not eating like bad foods, like when I'm on a diet or when I'm going on like a slimming phase when I'm trying to cut. But somebody else is really bad at doing that, but they're really good at quitting smoking. Now, two people have discipline in different areas. However, for one person it's easier to do one thing and the other person is easier to do the other thing. But person two struggles to do slimming, so eating well. Now, why is that? Now, you got to understand that when it comes to discipline, some things you'll find really easy to stay disciplined. And that doesn't mean you have good discipline. That means in that area, you don't really care. You don't really care about, person A doesn't really find it difficult person B doesn't really find it difficult quitting smoking. But the discipline, having discipline for him, for person B, is slimming, eating well. Because that is what he struggles with. So now he needs to have discipline in order to do so. And that's what you got to understand. You got to figure out what it is that you struggle with maintaining your discipline. And when you achieve that, you've now mastered the art of having discipline. But why is having discipline important for achieving your goals and moving towards success? Now, reason is because when you have discipline, you understand what it is that you need to do and what it is that you shouldn't do and can't do, and you can refrain from doing so. Now, what makes that powerful is you're now essentially increasing your effectiveness as a person. As a person, you're now increasing your effectiveness. Think about it as going to the gym. See, if you're very good at, like, let's say you really hate eating healthy and organic food and, not drinking fizzy drinks and not eating out. Let's say you're somebody that loves eating out like a couple times a week and you need to not do so for a couple months. Now, having discipline and not doing that is going to make your goal of getting fit a whole lot easier. However, if you slip up a couple of times, that's now going to be detrimental towards achieving your goal. It's going to delay it. So what you got to understand is, for example, in the business that I'm in, when it comes to trading, over leveraging or not managing my risk essentially is one of the fundamental things when it comes to, my target. Now, if I'm not being disciplined and I do so, I'm going to take certain hits, which is going to be a delay in what my target is, whether that's 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. So every time I take a big hit because I wasn't following risk management, I've delayed that. And that's what you got to understand. That's what discipline allows you to do, is to stay on target and be as effective as possible. So essentially, discipline, although it's something that sounds so simple, human beings struggle. Now, why do you struggle? And the simple answer is that your goal, your want and need to achieve your goal isn't outweighing the temptation to do a certain deed, whether it's you're trying to quit smoking. Now your want and need to quit needs to outweigh your want and need to smoke, essentially, in this kind of example. When you're trying to get fit, your want and need to get fit needs to be greater than your want and need to eat takeaway and unhealthy food. And you need to establish that your want and need to achieve your goal has to be bigger than your want and need to slack, or your want and need to not stay on target. Now you gotta ask yourself, is that the case for me? Because if it isn't, when you are faced with something that's tempting to do, you're not going to follow through. And hence you're going to hinder your progress. Now, how many of you guys struggle to maintain discipline when it's most important? One person? Everybody else, you're perfectly disciplined? Exactly, quite a lot of people. And it's not something to be ashamed of, because I'm the same. Everybody is. Most people are. And most of discipline. Like most people are. Most people have that one thing that they're not disciplined in. And what someone said, I do in certain areas, most undisciplined. In certain areas. That's the key word. See, the certain areas that you're not, that is what makes you not as disciplined as you think. Because those are the things that you don't struggle with. The things that you're fine with, that's the things you don't struggle with. The things that you struggle with, being able to keep those in check is what makes you disciplined. As you build up discipline, it becomes a habit. Now, that doesn't require discipline to maintain. However, doing the others, which is now difficult, is where the discipline is required. It's just like getting out of your comfort zone. As soon as you get out of your comfort zone a little bit and you maintain, that becomes comfort zone again. Your comfort zone keeps extending. Think about it as a plot of land. You can keep extending that plot of land as you step out of it. So your discipline area needs to keep stepping out in order to maintain being very disciplined. Because if you get used to doing something, it's just habitual. When you've successfully quit smoking, you don't really care about it no more. It's not difficult to not smoke. Somebody who's quit smoking for 20 years, they don't really give a shit about smoking anymore. Somebody who's been on a diet, a healthy diet, for 20 years, they don't think about eating unhealthy because it's just their day-to-day routine of normality. So now it would be harder for them to break that diet than it would be to maintain it. But yeah, waking up on time. Waking up on time is hard for everyone. But a quick, something I learned that's cool. Biologically, as teenagers, or as people in your early 20s, we're not biologically made to wake up early. Biologically, teenagers have been made, or in our kind of DNA is wired so we sleep later, so 1 to 2 a.m., and we wake up later. So what I was reading about it was crazy. So actually sleep is having school early in the morning is actually bad for our health, because we're not meant to be waking up early. Our body clock is later. So if you guys notice that you can't sleep until 1, 2, is because that's who you are. It's not that you can't sleep, it's just that you're made and your brain has been wired to sleep at 1 to 2 a.m. That's normal for you. You feeling tired and struggling to wake up at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. is kind of a normal thing. Make your sleeping schedule work for you and what's beneficial to you. You can't wait. You shouldn't try to rejig your body clock around because that's unnatural. Does that make sense? It's like trying to drive a car in reverse down the motorway. It's just never going to work. You're never going to be able to drive it at full capability because it's just not how it's meant to be. Certain things you just got to let your body do its thing. If your body works in this optimal point, then that's how it is. You can't boil water at 80 degrees. It's just not going to happen. You got to boil it at 100 degrees, and that's never going to change. So just like if you boil water can't boil at 100 degrees, I mean at anything lower than 100 degrees, if your body doesn't respond well to something, you got to make it work for you. Is everybody following? Perfect. But anyways, going back to discipline. Understanding discipline and mastering discipline and constantly staying on top of that discipline. And as long as you're staying in the same industry or staying in the same kind of field of what you're trying to stay disciplined in, you don't need to worry, because once you master it for about 90 days, it becomes, or 21 days, it becomes a habit. When you do it for 90 days, you have a paradigm shift essentially where it's completely shifted. And once you get to that point, you no longer need to have discipline. So for example, for me, it'd be if I maintain risk management for 21 days, it'd become a complete habit. And if I do it for 90 days, I'll never break that. So all you got to do is try very hard for 21 days and then you're patterned. 21 days and you're sorted. If you set yourself a certain timetable for sleeping for 21 days, you should be sorted because you made yourself a certain body clock. However, as soon as you slip it, that's it, back to square one. Have you guys noticed where, let's say you set a certain sleeping schedule, you mess up one day and it ruins everything? That's all it is. With discipline, it takes one slip up and everything crumbles down. It's like taking a brick out of the bottom of a tower. But if it's at the bottom, the whole tower will fall down. You take it out of the top, nothing happens. Just like with Jenga. You take a little brick out of the top, happy days. You take a brick out of the bottom, now it might topple over. Same thing with discipline. It's a very thin line between you're being completely fine and drifting away and ruining it. And you got to find that balance for yourself and not take things too extreme. One thing I learned is not being too extreme when trying to achieve something. I've realized that building your discipline slowly and building yourself up slowly is always better. Everything in moderation is always better. When you let things happen organically, it's always better. Always let things happen organically, because when you grow organically, it's going to end up being healthy, long-term, and sustainable. It's just like with organic foods are better than non-organic foods. Why is it? Why is it that organic foods are better? It's because they were grown naturally, unaffected, with no, extra substances and stuff, like pesticides and all of that crap. None of that stuff. Hence, they're healthier. Just like with yourself as a human being, grow yourself organically. And when you grow yourself organically as a person and build yourself up, longer term, you're going to be doing better than you initially planned. Because think about it, how many times have you done something in a rush and then after that you regretted it because you messed something up, and you're like, if I just took my time with it over this period of time, I would have been in a better position anyways. But because in the present moment you can't see that far, if you're not that long, if you're just too short-sighted and you block yourself here and you don't see the bigger picture, next thing you know, you're doing things in a rush. Do things slowly, do things with care, and it will be sustainable. No building was built overnight. lay down the foundations, build the disciplines, build the habits, and build on that foundation. Because when you build on a solid foundation, you're never going to go back to square one. You might go back to the foundation, but you're never going to go below that because you built a solid foundation. The stronger the foundation, the easier it's going to be to get back up when you make a mistake. Think about it. If you built yourself a solid foundation in your business, no matter how hard you fall back down, you'll land on the foundation, not the ground. You won't be at rock bottom when you drop. You'll drop onto the foundation that you set. So you're never going to feel as low as you potentially could if you didn't lay out foundations. Does that make sense to everybody? And I learned that one a little bit the hard way. When I came into my business, I was in a lot of rush, and that's what kind of stunned me for the first 6 months, because I was in too much of a rush. I didn't spend enough time laying down the foundations, gathering knowledge, just like I was going through on the laws of influence. I wasn't doing those things where before you want to lead, you need to build the knowledge up, you need to build up the relationships, the know-how, the intuition, all of those different things. I didn't build that as my foundation. I thought I was just ready to rumble. And when you start building with no foundation, it's just wobbly. And one little strong blast of wind and the whole thing comes crashing down. But you're in a rush. You're short-sighted. So if you're in a rush, you're not going to even notice that you forgot the foundations because you're rushing. You're like just trying to get it done quick. And the next thing you know, you've already started building, but you've got the foundation. So now it's too late. Now you're seeing the little gaps and instability in what you're doing. And next thing you know, it's too late and you've fallen flat on your face. But yeah, I just wanted to go through today. I just want to talk to everybody about discipline. I had one of my students, suggest that I talked about discipline, and I did a little bit of extra stuff as well in there. But yeah, man, you guys just gotta really, really stay disciplined no matter how hard it gets. Because I know it's difficult in the moment. The temptation does get big, but you just gotta remember, you want your goals more than you want whatever it is that's tempting you. You always want your target more. Always want your target more. If you always remind yourself of your goal and what you need to get to, the end target, don't do yourself the disservice of cutting yourself short. But on that note, before we do a nice quick late nights with Da Vinci Monday, we're going to come back tomorrow with some more value. I hope everybody gained value. If you did, you know the vibes. But yeah, this will be uploaded onto YouTube tomorrow or tonight, depending on if I get enough time to edit. I've got a few other videos to, edit as well. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for jumping on. And once again, I hope you guys gain value. But yeah, I'll catch you lot in a bit for me. Yeah.